After 18 weeks of the regular season and 3 grueling playoff rounds and 1 game to end it all, we finally have crowned a Super Bowl winning champion in Los Angeles. What is going on, everyone? It is Very Cold Lasagna, the podcast that houses a safe and open listening platform for casual, cold, and all the dumb takes on the world of pro wrestling and sports. I'm your host, DylanLasagna. Welcome to today's episode number 92 of this freezing cold podcast. And we always house that icy and spicy lasagna, whether we're talking about pro wrestling or NFL football here on this show. And, I gotta say, Super Bowl Sunday, it was one of the good games, kind of like a good capper to what was a wild 2021 NFL season. When you look back at this NFL season, it was honestly one of the better seasons that we had. And I gotta say, I think maybe it might have been because, all the fans were coming back in the stands. The stadium was going to be packed once again. Mostly everyone is vaccinated now. So that's why the NFL is letting people back in. And, that brings the energy back into the games. Last year, we had none of that. And, it felt kind of dull. It felt kind of awkward. It was like, the NFL, kind of like watching, not like the NFL, watching those WWE Performance Center shows back when the pandemic just first started, and it was amped up to 1 million during the 2020 NFL season. In 2021, honestly, it was a lot more exciting. It was actually a lot more exciting. You got a lot of surprising upsets, some good performances, and all this crazy shit happening all throughout the regular season, mainly upsets and a lot of good games, mind you, a lot of game of the year contenders, in my opinion. And when you get to the playoffs, really good games for the most part. Honestly, I think there were only 2 blowouts in the entirety of the postseason. But anyway, this playoff rounds were pretty damn good. And then now you get a Super Bowl between 2 teams that you didn't really expect to be here, in the LA Rams and the Cincinnati Bengals, who I guess it's like the icing on the cake of a very surprising NFL season. So we're here to talk about it. It happened, and as you can tell, we have one Super Bowl champion. And that is the Los Angeles Rams. So how did they get there? How did they get to that point? Going to this game, they clearly survived the regular season. They clearly survived the playoffs. The Rams beating my San Francisco 49ers, sadly, thanks to Jimmy Garbage fail, stinking up the joint, and that defense stinking up the joint for the 49ers. But nonetheless, the Rams overcame their demons in the 49ers to have the Super Bowl in their home stadium, the second consecutive team to do so. The Rams, though, were the designated visiting team. But nonetheless, they're playing the Super Bowl in their home stadium. For the Cincinnati Bengals, beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC title game to have their first Super Bowl trip since 1989, where they lost to Joe Montana in those 49ers. So they were still looking for their first Super Bowl title in franchise history, after 2 failed trips in the 1980s against those 49ers. Meanwhile, for the Rams, their story, they only won 1 championship. At least they have one, right? You can say that, for the Rams. Kurt Warner brought the title to the then St. Louis Rams in Super Bowl 34, but they haven't won one since. Not even as the Los Angeles Rams. Jared Goff cannot get that done. Back in the 2018 season in Super Bowl 53, where he just completely laid an egg against Tom Brady and the Patriots in that very, very boring Super Bowl. So they bring in Matthew Stafford, getting all these pieces to go all in. They literally went all in and all out for this Super Bowl run. So, going to this game, we had a lot of big storylines. You had the storyline between these two quarterbacks who were first overall picks. Matthew Stafford, drafted in 2009 by the Detroit Lions. It takes him like forever, an eternity, 13 years to finally get to a Super Bowl with a good-ass team. And then you have Joe Burrow, drafted just 2 years ago, and he finally gets to his first Super Bowl in just 2 seasons. The problem was for the Cincinnati Bengals, you don't really have a good offensive line. Joe Burrow has been saving your ass, though. That's the good thing. The bad news was the offensive line, and that's going up against a very, very good defensive line of Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Leonard Floyd, and a generally very strong pass rush for the LA Rams. And then you also had a good one-on-one matchup between Jamar Chase and Jalen Ramsey. How is Chase going to do against a experienced corner like Jalen Ramsey in a big game? I mean, Jalen Ramsey never played in a Super Bowl, but he has experience in those type of big game feels. So, initially when I did my preview show of the Super Bowl, I picked Cincinnati to win because, even though they have that big ass weakness with the offensive line, going up against that formidable pass rush of the LA Rams, I thought Joe Burrow, he could have gotten it done. I thought Joe Burrow was a big second half quarterback. He really showed that he can shine in the biggest of moments against really good teams. And, that's why I picked the Bengals to upset the Rams in the Super Bowl. So then we get the actual game itself, and you could tell right out of the gate, both teams were struggling. I don't know if it was due to experience or play calling, but, you could tell early that they're trying to play it safe. The Rams ran the ball, and then for the Bengals, they got to midfield. They were getting there. They were about to score. But then Zach Taylor decides to do this dumb play call on 4th down that doesn't pay off. He has Joe Burrow try to throw it to Jamar Chase on it for a simple check down, and sure, but he throws it into double coverage when you have T. Higgins. If you watch the highlights, he had T. Higgins on the sideline, near the sideline, wide open for the simple check down, and Joe Burrow threw it to Jamar Chase and turned it over on downs. And I say that's bad because, again, Higgins was open near the sideline, and he could have threw it to him, or they could have, at least what they did later on, fake a run play for Joe Burrow to just run down the middle and just get that first down. I mean, they did that later on, but damn. That would set up a bad turn of events for the Bengals early on because the Rams made them pay. Matthew Stafford and that offense kind of woken up a little bit. He throws a big pass to Cooper Kupp, and then Odell Beckham Jr. gets in the end zone. 7-0 already for the Los Angeles Rams. And the Bengals, they couldn't get anything going. The pass rush was getting to Joe Burrow. The offensive line was not giving Joe Burrow enough time to have Joe Burrow even get a quick pass in to Uzama or to Tyler Boyd, and literally anyone in the passing game couldn't get going because the offensive line didn't give time for Joe Burrow to throw. But for the Rams, they got clicking. They were getting their shit together. And by the end of the first quarter, it was already 13-3, and you thought that, well, it could be blowout city for the LA Rams. They could put this away relatively quickly if the Cincinnati Bengals continue to struggle with their offensive line, and the Rams defense, continues to hold them to that. Then you get to the second quarter, and you think that, well, the Rams are on fire. They're up 13-0. The offense is doing well. Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford, obviously a good one-to-one connection, and Odell Beckham Jr. is actually doing a good job. He's shining in the biggest stage. He's shining. He having that prove it game before he hits free agency. But unfortunately, when the Rams needed to respond to what was a Philly special from Joe Mixon to T. Higgins, and then all of a sudden it's 13-10 it's like the Bengals literally just cut the lead to 3 points early in the second quarter. And then when the Rams needed to respond, disaster just struck out of nowhere onto Los Angeles, because Odell Beckham, he didn't get hit by anybody. I guess he buckled his knee on the turf and he hurt it very bad. He was in severe pain, and non-contact injuries suck. The injury that Odell Beckham had reminded me of the non-contact injury that Kevin Durant had in the conference semifinals with the Achilles injury. It looked like he buckled his knee really bad, and it apparently was confirmed that it was a torn ACL, and that just sucks, man. I mean, Beckham finally had a home in Los Angeles for as much as the division rivals that the Niners and Rams are, but I mean, it sucks that injuries happen. So soon after, you clearly saw Beckham leave the game, and his absence, it would affect the entire offense. Matthew Stafford got into a funk. He couldn't connect with any of his receivers because Cooper Kupp was actually getting locked up by the rest of the defense. And Matthew Stafford would throw an interception to Jesse Bates in the end zone. And here you go. All of a sudden, that Beckham injury and the interception seemed like it would turn the tide for Cincinnati. This would be their moment to get back into the game. But then again, the offensive line for the Cincinnati Bengals still doing a very bad job against Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Leonard Floyd, that pass rushing trio. It's like nothing was working. They couldn't get the deep ball in. They couldn't even get like a quick pass going. Like whatever Zach Taylor was doing, it couldn't. Like to get Joe Burrow to get the ball out faster, nothing was working against that Bengals formidable. Not the Bengals formidable front. The Rams formidable front. So at least for the Bengals, they were only down just 3 points, just a field goal. It was only 13-10 by the halftime. Problem was for them again, the offensive line. That's broken records for the wrong reasons in this postseason. 9 sacks against the Tennessee Titans. They were already close to that pace at the half. I think at 2 or 3 sacks. So this offensive line was not helping Joe Burrow at all in this game. I mean, sure, Joe Burrow, people could have asked him for more. They could have asked him, he should have thrown this ball to Jamar Chase faster. He should have thrown this ball to Tyler Boyd quicker. It's like how much can he do when his offensive line is giving him nothing to work with? I mean, sure, Jamar Chase was cooking up Jalen Ramsey with the opportunities he had. He ate a big catch in the first quarter. That one-handed grab, damn. It's like he is like automatic with those grabs. So Zach Taylor, their head coach, he was trying to find ways to get that ball up faster. But every time he tried to get it out faster, there was just nothing that Cincy could do to stop Donald, Miller, Floyd, that pass rush. It was just too much quicker than the Bengals' attempts to get that ball out away from Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Leonard Floyd, the entire pass rush. For Los Angeles, I mean, even though you're up 13-10, man, that offense in the second quarter looked like it looked completely different the moment that Odell Beckham got injured and was eventually ruled out of the second half. Even so, they needed Matthew Stafford to show them why they traded for him in moments like this. An interception in the end zone to Jesse Bates wasn't going to cut it. So they needed Matthew Stafford to come in the clutch. They needed Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp to bring them home the trophy. How are they going to do that? We would find out soon enough. Speaking of soon enough, we had the halftime show. And I guess in previous years, the halftime show has been hit or miss. I mean, last year, I thought the Weeknd's halftime show was was solid. But man, this year's halftime show was actually pretty damn good. It was the shit. You had Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, Eminem, Mary J. Blige, Kendrick Lamar, 50 Cent. I'm more of a mark for Snoop and Dre. I wish they had Ice Cube. I really wish they had Ice Cube to, complete that trio of the late 80s, early 90s gangster rap, West Coast hip hop trio, because this is pretty much what mostly this show was about. Snoop and Dre stealing the show. And man, they still got the vocals, man. They still got the charisma. And obviously Eminem with Mom Spaghetti. I really want me some Mom Spaghetti. And there were also some times where they were lip syncing, maybe because of age, or they just don't have the same vocals. But damn, it's like, it was just so damn obvious. Like, why'd they have to make it so obvious that they were lip syncing like they were at the Thanksgiving Day parade? But anyway, this is pretty cool. This is a good nostalgia. But I just wish they had Ice Cube. I really wish they did. I mean, you can't have a halftime show with Snoop, Dre, Eminem. Like, it's like hip hop, like West Coast, East Coast hip hop. But you don't have Ice Cube. I mean, I know you can't have him sing "F the Police" or the diss track against NWA, No Vaseline. But I mean, wasn't Sunday a good day for Ice Cube to represent in that halftime show? Wasn't it? I mean, come on. We could have at least had Ice Cube and Snoop and Dre and what was it? MC, no, not MC Hammer, not the other members of NWA. Be there, even do a tribute to Eazy-E. Man, a missed opportunity right there. But overall, pretty good halftime show there. And then there was also that pre-game promo before kickoff with The Rock. I gotta be honest with you, pretty mid. I gotta be honest with you. I mean, he was kind of like that guy that's trying to play up to both sides. Sure, being objective. Trying to introduce the Rams, trying to introduce the Bengals, but he didn't do enough of his typical Rock promo shit that he usually does in the WWE. Like, not enough for the millions and millions. I thought he was gonna do that so he can get something out of the crowd, and then I thought he was gonna end it with "If you smell what the Super Bowl is cooking." Why didn't he end it with that? Why didn't he end it with the "if you smell"? It would have been so, like, not really iconic, but much better than what he ended it with. It felt too, I don't know, I guess generic per se, but at least it could cut better promos than the entirety of what we have in pro wrestling today. So we get back to the actual game, and Cincinnati is finally getting back into the game. And they proved they love the second half right away, because Joe Burrow gets out a long throw into T. Higgins, burns Jalen Ramsey, who, by the way, was not having a good game at all, and runs away scot-free for a touchdown. But keep in mind that T. Higgins actually got away with a offensive pass interference and a face mask penalty, and just waltzed into the end zone scot-free. Yeah, they didn't call that, but I mean, we'll let it slide, I guess. And then right after that, Matthew Stafford again gets intercepted on the Rams' first attempt to throw the ball in the second half, and all of a sudden, here comes Cincinnati. Here they come. The Tiger is crawling to take over this game. So it's 20-13, and all of a sudden, Cincinnati is in control. But then again, they really don't get in control, because the Rams pass rush is still dominating the Bengals offensive line, and they're still not giving Joe Burrow time to throw. It's because it's eventually Aaron Donald was going to take over that game, and going into the fourth quarter, you know, it was pretty much a long-ass staring contest. The offensive line, like I said, as they said time and time and again, still selling out to the Rams pass rush. Joe Burrow was getting sacked by that point 7 times throughout the game. And even then, you know, despite Aaron Donald, Von Miller dominating the fourth quarter, the Rams offense for the most part was still struggling without Odell Beckham Jr. It was like the injury really sucked the life out of them. Like, they really couldn't get going, especially with the running game. Yet, not Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay still stuck with it. He still stuck with the running game. It was like he was like Kyle Shanahan trying to beat a dead horse in the NFC Championship game. He really tried to get Cam Akers, Sony Michel to run it down the middle like Shanahan was trying to do with Elijah Mitchell and Deebo Samuel. And it just wasn't working. And yet Sean McVay really still tried to stick to his guns for whatever reason. It was really weird. Maybe he was trying to hide Matthew Stafford. Maybe he was because of the 2 interceptions. Maybe he didn't want him to throw a third one. Maybe he didn't want Matthew Stafford to cost him the Super Bowl again. I mean, like, he didn't want him to lose another Super Bowl, what I mean. So, not only that, you had the backup receivers, Van Jefferson and Brian Skoranek. They weren't really doing that great either. They were dropping balls. They couldn't break free from the Cincinnati secondary that was pretty much struggling as well for most of the game. But they were kind of tightening up here in the fourth quarter. So the Bengals, on one of their last possessions of the game, they attempted to pull Kyle Shanahan themselves. They tried to do a Kyle Shanahan masterpiece. If you don't know what I mean, what the 49ers did for like a month of the season, from November to December, when they began their delusional playoff run, was they played ball control with the running game. They ran the ball so many times that by the time that they stopped, they were done on offense, they burned a good shit ton of the clock. And that's what the Bengals were doing with Joe Mixon. And they did a decent job of that. The problem was they were only past 10 yards of midfield. So they were only at the 40-yard line. And they had to pass it on third down. Otherwise, they were going to punt. And they failed to do that. So they had to give the ball back to the Rams. And the Rams finally showed up. Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp. They decided to have one last good drive in them. And they showed that Cooper Kupp is one of the best receivers in football, if not the best. And Stafford, for as bad as he's been in this game, he showed why the Rams traded for him. They cashed in on a touchdown late in the game, took the lead 23-20, albeit with controversy. The 3 plays prior to Cooper Kupp's touchdown saw some penalties, very controversial penalties. 2 on the Bengals. I forgot who it was that was called for holding on was it Skoranek or Cooper Kupp, and then Eli Apple gets penalized for the second penalty. Either way, it is just that ref ball decided to take over in the last 2 minutes of the game, when previous to that, there were only 3 total penalties. Just 3. I think 1 was on false start on the Rams, and then 1 was on an unsportsmanlike penalty by the Bengals because Vernon Hargreaves' dumbass, who was inactive, decided to celebrate that end zone interception. And the third one, I forgot what the third one was, but there were 3 total interceptions prior to the other 2 on the Cincinnati Bengals, and there was 1 offsetting. But the fact that there were that many penalties in that short amount of time, in the 2 minutes, it kind of ruined what was pretty much another stress-inducing but very good game that was going on. And keep in mind, the refs, like, sure, they let them play, but they were missing a lot of calls throughout this game. So they once again officiated horribly in this game. So this game was kind of soiled, if you think about it. The refs wanted the Rams to have that Hollywood ending. So it again came to nut busting time for the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow had one last chance to get the Bengals at least into overtime if they wanted it, or to spoil the Rams' Hollywood ending with a touchdown drive, but it never got going because the Bengals' offensive line, once again, shit. Burrow had to settle for quick passes, which he finally got in, but he was well under pressure. And once they got back to midfield and they were on third down, Zach Taylor made a very questionable decision to have his backup running back, Samaje Perine, try for a third down conversion. When they had Joe Mixon, they had Samaje Perine try to run down the middle to try to get a first down, and he clearly did not get it. They had Joe Mixon. Why would their backup try to get the third down instead of their top running back? What sense does that make? How? And Perine didn't even try to reach for the pylon for the first down. Tried to get that ball to the first down marker. So now you have fourth down. You have one last chance to extend the drive, but the offensive line folds yet again. Here comes Aaron Donald. Here comes Von Miller. And just like Jimmy Garoppolo suffered in the NFC Championship game, I mean, minus the interception, Joe Burrow had to quickly yeet away the ball, and game over. Rams win 23-20. So, yeah, this stings. This sucks for Niners fans. But I mean, I guess I'm a little happy for Matthew Stafford, for Cooper Kupp, and I guess to some degree Von Miller. But yeah, we're not really gonna hear the end of this from annoying ass Rams fans this entire offseason, are we? Are we now? It was like basically the NFC title game in reverse. The Rams got off to a hot start, but then when Odell Beckham Jr. went down, that offense just got the air taken out of them. And then when it came to the last minutes of the game, Stafford and Kupp came in the clutch. So, and that's how the Rams won it. And also that defensive line became the biggest key. Actually, it was the Cincinnati Bengals offensive line became the biggest key to victory for Los Angeles, taking full advantage, eating that offensive line for dinner, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Relentlessly beating and constantly beating that offensive line to pressure Joe Burrow, to sack him 7 times. And, well, the Rams are Super Bowl 56 champions. So, I mean, semi-congrats to Los Angeles. Whoopee. So, for the Rams, their all-in gamble for Stafford paid off. This actually the second year in a row that, a team makes a big swing at a quarterback, and the second team that wins the Super Bowl in its home stadium. Obviously, the Bucs last year being the first with Tom Brady, and the Bucs being at home, and it pays off. But man, they actually barely got it done. That like I said, the offense had the life taken out of them for a good half of the game. After Odell Beckham went down, and again, it sucks that he went down the way he did. And then Sean McVay really oddly stayed committed to the run when the Bengals' run defense was really tightening up, and McVay didn't want to abandon it for whatever reason. But I mean, the fact that they got it done was all that mattered. Cooper Kupp won Super Bowl MVP. I mean, I don't know if he really deserved when. I mean, sure, he had 2 touchdowns, two big reception, actually several big receptions, but I mean, Aaron Donald, for it's like, as he is, he dominated. He really dominated that Bengals offensive line. So maybe I don't know. In my opinion, he should have been the MVP of this game. Why didn't they make Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald the co-MVPs of that game? That's crazy to me. So for Cincinnati, yeah, this loss sucks. Absolutely sucks for them. But going forward, I think both the organization and the fans have something to be excited about in the years to come. Joe Burrow didn't have his best game. He had a solid game, but not the best game. Certainly not as good as the one he had against Kansas City. But it was definitely much harder for him to play his best game when he was playing against one of the best defensive lines, defensive fronts in the NFL, with Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Leonard Floyd, always on your ass, pretty much almost every play. And Burrow essentially had barely any chance to throw that ball. So for Cincinnati, it sucks now, but I think once they address the offensive line and free agency and the draft, and they get, I don't know, a couple of key pieces, their essential needs, the Bengals are going to be competitors in the AFC for the next several years with Joe Burrow. And they're well set up for success. They actually, Dan, if you think about the Bengals this season, they exceeded expectations beyond anyone's belief. Like I said in the preview, they were predicted to be basement dwellers or third place in the AFC North and not make the playoffs. And then all of a sudden they make a run. They never haven't had a losing record in the regular season, and then they go on this playoff run, beating the Titans, beating the Chiefs, upsetting Mahomes, and then, I mean, who knew what would have been like if Joe Burrow actually had an offensive line in the Super Bowl? But hell, this in my opinion, could be a good building block for the Bengals if, again, the front office gets them an offensive line. They actually have a lot of resources to work with this offseason to make that happen. They have a lot of draft picks. They have a lot of money to spend in free agency. Whether the front office decides to actually commit to that, who knows? All I know is that they can't make Joe Burrow look like another Dan Marino, only being in one Super Bowl, or an Andrew Luck getting sacked relentlessly to the point where he gets injured so much and then eventually wants to retire at a very young age. So for the Bengals, the loss sucks, but hopefully this is a step towards a much brighter future. So, man, here we are. The end of the NFL season. Another NFL season in the books. Again, like I said, one of the better NFL seasons in a long time, really. Last year, I mean, sure, it was all right, but this year was really damn good. It was really, really damn good with all the unpredictability, all the storylines, all the drama in it, especially with the Chiefs' early struggles, the Packers and Aaron Rodgers with their craziness, Aaron Rodgers' immunization, and whether or not he was gonna still want to trade after the season, especially compounded by the fact that they lost to a Jimmy Garoppolo-led 49ers in the divisional playoffs. And then Tom Brady, playing at a high level at age 44, and the downward spiral of certain teams like the Cardinals, the Panthers, the Seahawks. So that was only the 2021 season. And it's going to lead to a very interesting offseason. With all what's going to happen with trades, like with Rodgers, Russell Wilson, if that's going to come to fruition. A lot of big moves happening in free agency. a lot of interesting moving parts is going to happen this offseason. When it comes to the Super Bowl teams that played this past Sunday, looking at the Rams, for like a mini preview, it's going to be a matter of how they're going to bring the band back together. Sure, they don't have any money to spend. They're in the red at minus $8 million, I believe. And the real money, like the actual like downward trend of money, starts kicking in 2023. But when it comes to this free agency period, this offseason period, their key free agents are going to be Von Miller, Odell Beckham, Matt Gay, and Sony Michel. Maybe perhaps Beckham will want to stay on a discount. He said himself he likes the team. He likes LA. The problem is he has an ACL. He has an ACL tear, and I'm not sure if any team is willing to give him a huge payday because of the injury, despite how he did in the Super Bowl before he got hurt. So maybe he's willing to take a discount, to take a a small salary for who knows what. But either way, their general manager, their front office will have to, make some creative moves, restructure some player contracts or cut some players that aren't really benefiting them if they want to keep the band, the key band, back together. And that's only the crux of it. They have to do contract extensions for Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay, and the big decision on whether or not Aaron Donald is gonna retire or stay. And I don't know. In my opinion, I think Donald is still gonna play. I mean, he's 30 years old. I mean, I think if Aaron Donald really wanted to retire, it's like one ring. That's all you want to get. That's all you want to get. Don't you want to play for more? For the Cincinnati Bengals, obviously their top priority is the offensive line. They have to sign the best guards and tackles available in both free agency and the draft, because you got to protect Joe Burrow's ass. Besides that, though, they could look into adding some help at other positional needs, and as well as re-signing some in-house free agents that they might look into, like Jesse Bates. But when it comes to positional needs, maybe corner, and safety. But either way, both of these teams have to have some decisions to make in the offseason, as goes for every team. And the offseason is it's like the extension. It's like the prelude to the next season. It's like I guess you could call it what do you call the prologue, the prologue to the 2022 NFL season. So that was the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 56. The LA Rams are your Super Bowl champions over the Cincinnati Bengals. I mean, obviously, I'm still salty inside, knowing this as a 49ers fan, but it is what it is. Hopefully, things pan out in 2022. But what did you guys think about the Super Bowl? Did you watch it? Did you like the Rams winning, or did you hate it? Did you not care? Let me know. Did you watch it for the Super Bowl halftime show, pregame show, commercials? Honestly, for the commercials, I didn't really care for it this year. I really didn't. For some weird reason, I wasn't into the commercials. Maybe because I was just doing other stuff in between while watching the Super Bowl. I don't know. Either way, let me know your thoughts on the Super Bowl, and however you can. Quick announcement. The week of February 21st, there will be no episode of the podcast. Kind of trying to take like a mini vacation before we hit the month of March, where I'm planning to do something pretty interesting for the month of March for the podcast. I have a little series of episodes that I plan on doing, still talking about the NFL, even though it's off season. But We're gonna take a trip down memory lane. I'll give you a little slice of pie for that. But to prepare for that, there will be no episode for then after this. So it's like a little vacation, a week-long vacation. I may do some videos on YouTube, depending on the topic or any like news regarding the NFL, the WWE, or AEW. Just stay tuned to the YouTube channel or Twitter for any updates. But expect the next episode in the month of March. But anyway, that is it for this episode of Very Cold Lasagna. I am your host, DylanLasagna. Thank you for tuning into this fine episode. As always, make sure you listen to the show however you can, wherever you listen to your podcast, be it Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor FM, Google Podcasts, as well as YouTube. And follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Very Cold Lasagna. Keep that lasagna very cold in the fridge with your takes on the world of pro wrestling and sports, icy and spicy in that fridge like a very cold lasagna. And until next time, we would put that NFL season in the fridge with that very cold lasagna. It's going to be icy cold now. But until next time, peace out.